Hi, prospectors. Patch 2.5, our latest patch for this closed beta, is going to be live tomorrow, which is 4/21. With the following fixes and adjustments, we aim to have the maintenance at 4 a.m. Eastern on the 21st of April. Please remember the in-game announcements are currently not working. You will lose your gear if you are on the planet when the maintenance starts. Adjustments. Reduce damage of high-tier weapons. Maelstrom gets a nerf, damage 8 to 7. KBR nerfed from 39 to 35. Advocate from 10 to 9. Flechette from 12 to 10. Core from 15 to 13. Hammer from 31 to 28. Brew from 12 to 10. Basilisk from 40 to 34. So I do agree that some of the best weapons in the game definitely need a nerf in general. I think this shores up the gap between people who have access to it and people who don't. While they should have an advantage for more time played, they are risking that gear in every single instance. So it should be better, but not to a point where it decreases the skill gap between players, right? You shouldn't be able to use the best stuff as a crutch and win despite being bad. Better players should always come out on top if they play it appropriately or outplay someone who has good gear, even if they are using all whites. And I think that this will help accomplish that. Voltaic Brute, increased horizontal and vertical recoil for the Brute. So this was my first thoughts and feelings when it came to the Brute, was increase the recoil quite a bit. It's an absolute laser beam right now. It takes no brain at all to control, and I think that that's pretty busted. So I do like this change coming through. I would say, however, I would have liked to see the nerf for SMG's effective range come through first. That way we could figure out exactly how much of a recoil change needed to occur for the Brute after the fact. Again, I don't think SMGs should be outperforming ARs over, 25, 30 meters. Like, that should be the absolute max for effective range for SMG. And right now, that's not the case. You can use them super effectively well beyond that and out damage an AR quite effectively at like the 50-meter range, for example. And I don't think that that's the way the game should play out. As a result, ARs feel pretty obsolete by comparison. And so that leaves a lot to be desired on the front of the AR, and I don't necessarily think it's their fault. SMGs are just too strong across the board, being the PDW, the Flechette, the Brute, etc. There's a reason that they are heavily favored when it comes to what you see people using on the battlefield. So I'd like to have seen that come through first, just have more damage drop off at range for all SMGs and then adjust the recoil, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Brute, as is giga broken. So, increased recoil when zooming in with a scope. This is interesting. I think this is meant to punish people who are putting like 4x on or 6x or variable zooms on the Brute, Flechette, etc., and just trying to beam with it at range. Again, people wouldn't try to do this if you decreased the effective range of the SMGs, right? So it's interesting. I just don't see how this is the right way to deal with it. Again, the change that I suggested may not have required recoil to increase while zoomed in, which feels off, right? Just in general. Probably not the way something should work. But we'll see. We'll see how it feels. Damage amplification for weapons with high pen value now can exceed 30% against low tier armors. This is great too, right? Some sort of cap on penetration versus low tier will really prevent the white warriors from getting melted as effectively, right? It was just like overdone. So now, yeah, there's some sort of cap to it, right? High penetration value now can't exceed 30% against low tier armors. So let's say it's like, at the very highest level, you may have really, really high and meaningful pen against like a purple or a pink. But if it's against a white, it's not bringing it down to a level where it's like you're just amplifying damage out the ass to where the person's time to kill is like negligible, right? So I really like this change. I think this is very smart. They thought this through really well. So I'm stoked for that. Info, fix some additional exploits that could be abused, implemented more cheat detection and prevention. And for those of you guys that read what this patch was supposed to be, this is supposed to be a big part of it. They don't talk about it at length, right? For the anti-cheat stuff, because obviously, the more they talk about it, the more people have a chance to circumvent it. So, known issues. Data in the battle log sometimes shows misleading data. As usual, please feel free to share your feedback with us. Thank you for your patience, prospectors, and thank you again for participating in closed beta 2. Again, weird, no mention of MMR whatsoever. Still want to see it like discussed at some point. I really hope they just don't ignore it leading up to a 1.0 release. There are 5 days remaining in this closed beta. This may be the last patch we see before 1.0. So I'm a little nervous on that front. Would have liked to see more iteration there if they are so insistent on keeping in some sort of system. I will say, that being said, with the lower player base, which I believe to be responsible for this, as things start to dwindle, we are seeing more variation in our raids. And the reason is because we're not getting pigeonholed into certain subsects of players, right? Because instead of having like 7,000 players, which is like what I'd say is roughly was the average over the course of the beta, now we're down to about 3. At 3,000, there are just less players, so we're getting a wider grouping in all of our raids. So it's not as strict of a filter right now, right? It doesn't feel as strict of a filter. So I'm getting people that are really good and obviously getting out with a lot of loot, but I'm also getting people who are not, right? And it feels better, right? Like right off the top, it feels better. However, when the player numbers are high again, I'm going to get reduced to a much smaller bracket via the MMR system, and it's going to feel bad again. So I think it's just a result of the player numbers right now. So it's obviously a hard thing to iterate on and check out effectively in the current state of the game, while we are pretty much everyone is understanding like, hey, there's 5 days left. Do I feel like continuing to play right now? Maybe, maybe not. So we will see. Again, hope to see them address this leading up to 1.0. It is my biggest concern, in addition to any kind of cheating in game. So we will see. Time will tell. Excited for 1.0 whenever it comes, though, obviously. Jeej. Thoughts and feelings, chat? Agree with what I'm saying? Disagree with what I'm saying?